what can Trump accomplish with the meetings with Russia? Not that he's doing it right at the moment. I guess I forget his name, whatever. I think what's fascinating about Trump is that even though he spent 4 years as president and spent 4 years afterwards, I guess, sort of running, he still has no idea, like literally no clue how the government works. And he doesn't know how to manipulate it whatsoever. And I just want you to keep that in mind when we go through all this. The other thing is that the media likes to change the story of how things work when Trump sends his minions or whatever to Saudi Arabia to wherever they are in the Middle East to talk about this, the Russia deal. The president is all powerful. I mean, that's how they put it. Like the president has this power to do a deal with Russia to end the war in Ukraine. But the next day it will be all about Congress and Senate having the power, or it'll be about the Supreme Court having all the power, right? I mean, whoever the story is about, it builds up this sort of suspense that, oh my God, the Supreme Court has all this power and they're going to do this, or whatever. Or Mitch McConnell had all this power and he's going to do this. Main thing that they lose sight of is that, think about before the war. So before the war, before the invasion, you have oil companies from the United States invested heavily. They invested heavily into equipment to make the oil industry work in Russia, to mine all this oil and gas and everything, right? A lot of this equipment is from investments from the West. There's $1 billion worth of planes. The invasion, Russia didn't return these planes that they had leased from these companies, $1 billion worth of these planes. I mean, they should have, right? No, they didn't. They said, we're keeping them. They just kept $1 billion worth of planes. They just literally ripped off all these, Western companies of their investments. And you had McDonald's and Starbucks and all these companies that invested a lot of money in Russia, in Russian markets. So, I mean, we all know, right, with the government, that the way it works is that, the voters will say, well, we want something. And the government or representatives will basically get a call from, McDonald's or Starbucks or, Schlumberger or some whatever Western company and say, no, that this is what we want. So the president has never had, the reason Biden can never really talk to Putin, though I thought he should, is that the power behind him, the real money, the real power that lobby the president and Congress and Senate to do the things. I mean, you can only do what they're going to pay you to do, because if Trump goes in, or the Republicans go in and say, okay, you have to do this, and it's not what the people paying their bills want, do you think they're going to get elected? Do you think they're going to get the money back again? This is why Republicans are dead quiet right now. You don't see any of these Republicans coming out and saying, go Trump in Russia, go get a deal. Of course not, because every one of their sponsors, right, their real big money sponsors, are not telling them, yeah, go make a deal with Russia. Let's end the war. It's just too many killing. We feel so bad. We'll just write off all our investments and, we'll be fine. Let's just start over. Do you really think that is happening? Really? I mean, no, it is not happening. There is no appetite whatsoever from all the people that lost money because of Russia's invasion. And this is the United States, this is Germany, England, France, all of them, all the Western countries that invested in Russia, and Russia just stole their stuff after they invaded and basically held it for ransom, to the point where the West basically just said, okay, well, here, we'll sell to you for $1. Like, just hoping they can buy it back, that the war wouldn't end, very long. How can you possibly think that these people are going to be forgive and forget? They're not. And even if you say, okay, well, they all lost, but Trump will do a deal, and these new companies will go in. They'll start Starbucks and McDonald's, and there'll be these new oil companies that will come in. What new oil companies? Where will these companies come from? Right? All the companies, all the capital, all the Western capital that was invested in Russia is the same Western capital that will reinvest again when the war is over and it's a different government. It's the same capital. There's no other capital out there ready to invest in Russia. Russia invaded. It did not give back the money of all the investment that went into it, and is basically just holding out until the West crumbles and the West goes to them. All these companies go to them and say, "Hey, listen, we get it, right? Ukraine was trying to join NATO. It's nothing really to do with us. Like, we're really mad that you stole our money, but we understand what you did, and okay, we accept it. You can have Ukraine, and we're going to get back to business." Now, that is possible. That can happen. I'm not saying it's not, but I just don't see it. Like, why would you? If all the money that was invested in Russia from the West, right? If it's all gone, right? If you've already written it off, it's been 3 years, you've moved on, everybody is fine, right? If you've moved on and everything, what do you get out of it, right? You don't get it. Why invest your money in something that is just going to blow up again, right? I mean, that's going to be the problem. Even if, Putin dies tomorrow, and the nicest people in Russia say, "Listen, it's going to be years before the West trusts Russia again to put the money in." And then you could say, well, what about China? Well, China is investing in Russia, but how much does China really want to invest in Russia? They just want the oil and the gas and maybe some food, but basically China has no interest in anything in Russia. Really, nobody does. That's the thing. The real irony is that Russia was lucky they had a market to sell their oil. Lucky. Yeah, the Europeans, the United States, I agree they're all complete dicks, okay? I'm not saying Russia doesn't have reasons to be upset with them, but really, they were so lucky. Like, they had this and they just squandered it. But I don't want to get into that. Yes, I get Russia could do a deal, I guess. I guess it's possible that if oil was worth enough, that the American companies might say, "Hey, you know what? Okay, yeah, we'll accept the whole, you invaded only because you felt that your national security was threatened by NATO and Ukraine and missiles here, missiles there, whatever. Okay, we'll accept that just so we can get back into business." But the economy is declining. Oil and gas is declining. There's not a lot of money in it because we're in a global recession. It's only going to get worse. It has not been good. So there's no reason for these Western companies to do a deal with Russia to get this gas because they don't need it. American oil and gas companies are making a lot of money building these. They already have the pipelines. They're building the LNG facilities. They already have plenty in Russia, in Texas, and in Europe. They built within a year. It's amazing. They built it. They already have this system now where the United States produces basically 18% more gas than it can possibly use itself. So what are you going to do with it? Sell it. So the 18% gas goes into these LNG tankers, goes to Europe, and Europe gets it. Like, we've solved the problem. The problem is solved. Germany's problem, Europe's problem is not that they can't get cheap gas from Russia. The problem is their economies are just very weak, like all global economies. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But the point is that there's no reason for, we're not even, the rig counts in the United States are going down around the world. So, why are these companies going to be like, okay, we're going to invest in Russian oil and gas when we're not even investing where there is no problems, right? So, think about it. So, just wanted to do a video that what's going on with it's theater, and it's theater of literal. I just don't want to call them names, but it's just like you're looking at Lavrov and what's his name sitting across from each other. It's I almost don't want to look at it because I'm embarrassed for my country that we would You send these knuckleheads to go talk to these other, they're all literally head in the clouds. They're all literally think that they're important. They don't matter. The politicians in Russia talking to the politicians in America, they do not matter. Okay? It's as far as what goes with U.S. and European interests. So nothing's going to happen with this thing. Trump will just move on to some other area, and that'll be that. And like I said, I feel in the other video, I'm just going to go through it, very quickly. Russia broke existing business contracts with Western countries. For example, the $1 billion worth of aircraft. So those businesses will not do business with Russia again until it's under new leadership. 2, Western industries can outweight Putin's regime and get back their investments at pennies at a dollar. It's just a waiting game now, right? I mean, Putin basically said, okay, I'm going to take all your stuff. And the Western companies are like, okay, I'm calling your bluff. I'm calling your bluff. You can last long enough. So we'll see, right? Russia does not value tech innovation, which is a byproduct of open societies. So it will be slowly defeated as its weapons can't keep up with Western innovation. And 4, it doesn't have the quantity of bodies that it had during World War II to force Ukraine to capitulate. And then 5, Putin's gambit is that the West needs Russian oil, gas to survive, but he's wrong because the U.S. and Middle East have filled the gaps already. It's already there. I mean, right, we didn't hear anything this year, third year, right, about Europe being too cold, even though it's been a very cold winter, about, it needing gas or oil, right? That problem's solved. There's nothing to do. The West, right, they're under no pressure whatsoever to get Russian oil and gas back online. And then the media likes to focus on the battlefield, which is exciting. Russia's making some gains. But in the big picture, the front lines have no effect on the larger forces above, which is that Western businesses aren't going to do business with Russia until it's under new leadership. And it's very sad what's going on with Ukraine, but Ukraine is very smart and they see this. Ukraine humiliates itself over and over again not to look like it's causing trouble. So like when Trump goes, Ukraine's like, oh, why don't you include us in the conversations? They know they don't need to be part of the conversations, but they need to basically message to Western businesses like, we're playing along, okay? If the president says he wants to go there, we'll play along. We're not going to cause trouble. Because again, the real power interests behind investment in Russia, they want to be able to, they want to work with Ukraine too. Ukraine, unlike Putin, is smart. It's like, we're going to bow down to them because it's in our best interest. And it is. That's the thing. Ukraine is humiliating itself to me, but it will get the last laugh because it will get tons of foreign direct investment once the war ends. Ukrainians will be running the oil fields in Russia, not Russians, because they've proven to businessmen the world over. And that, I don't just mean the West, I mean any businessmen in China and Asia and the United States. They all think alike. Listen, I got to think long-term plans. I don't want any surprises. If you want to renegotiate a contract, that's fine. But rolling tanks across the border and stealing our aircraft and our equipment, no. No. It's just not going to happen. All right. See you next time.